Jimmy Kimmel is not a talented person. He had very bad ratings, and they should have fired him a long time ago. So, you can call that free speech or not. He was fired for lack of...
Come up with an organization called the Board of Peace, which many normal countries fear he's forming to replace the United Nations. Of course, membership isn't free to the BOP. He's charging other world leaders $1 billion apiece to join it. He had a signing ceremony today. Look how happy he is. He's like, I'll take cash.
What do you get when one late-night punchline collides with one very powerful last name and suddenly turns into a full-blown spiral? The second Jimmy Kimmel casually brought up Melania Trump, Donald Trump reacted like alarms were blaring and the building was on fire. Instead of brushing it off or laughing it away, he seemed to pour gasoline on a spark, and what could have been a forgettable joke transformed into a self-inflicted spectacle playing out in real time. You have to wonder why it was so impossible to ignore. How does a simple monologue moment snowball into headlines everywhere? And maybe the bigger question is, how did Kimmel walk away winning the exchange without even adding another line? This is exactly how comedy bait works, when the setup is clean, the timing is perfect, and the reaction does all the heavy lifting.
What Melania thinks when he starts rambling on and on about this construction stuff. And last night we finally found out.
It's a massive change. The white against the white marble. The marble is being rejuvenated. They're great pieces of marble, but they've been let go and they've been tired. And I always say you can take a 100th of an inch off of a piece of marble and you have a brand new piece of marble. Nobody does it. It's not an easy process.
Marble, he is always saying things about marble.
Before we dive deeper, go ahead and tap that like button and subscribe, because trust me, you are going to want to see how this unfolds. The moment itself does not explode onto the stage. It slips in quietly, the way the smartest jokes always do, with a subtle smirk instead of a drum roll. The spotlight eases toward Melania Trump, not in a cruel way, but in that polished, almost cinematic way that feels tailor-made for satire. She is not attacked, she is observed, and that soft observation is exactly what makes the room lean in a little closer.
9 months that any president has ever had.
Truman ended World War II within 6 months of taking office. He's even better than that. I wish he would for once give himself some credit already. It was a parade of the unpleasant, and no one seemed to be enjoying themselves less than Melania. That is the look of someone.
Jimmy Kimmel never rushes the delivery, and he never needs to raise his voice because the material does not require force. Melania's public image already carries this dramatic stillness that almost begs to be examined. When someone is that composed, that controlled, patience becomes far more powerful than pressure. Kimmel understands that letting the silence breathe is often sharper than filling it with noise.
A press briefing. Man, oh man, if Obama wore in a blue suit to the Pope's funeral, Sean Hannity's head would explode inside Trump's ass. The fact that he was the only person not wearing a dark suit did not go unnoticed. So the White House press secretary pushed back. She said the president looked great and presidential alongside our stunning first lady, who was, as usual, dressed perfectly for the occasion. And she's right about Melania. I don't know about stunning, but she...
In American pop culture, Melania exists less like a participant and more like a display behind glass. She is flawlessly styled, perfectly illuminated, and somehow distant, even when she is front and center. Kimmel's humor leans into that separation with curiosity rather than hostility, almost as if he is gently asking how someone can stand so visibly in the spotlight and still feel emotionally miles away from it. That contrast alone becomes the setup.
As is tradition, except for 4 years ago when Trump refused to do it, the outgoing first couple welcomed the incoming president and first lady, which was interesting to watch. Trump actually got involved in Melania's outfit for this ceremony. A lot of people are talking about it. He told her he thought it would be super hot if she dressed like a goth Al Capone. And so she did. We found Carmen Sandiego.
The joke never throws accusations, and it never goes for cheap shots. Instead, it shines a light on the strange, almost surreal nature of her role. Here is a former First Lady who mastered being present everywhere while seeming emotionally unclaimed by any of it. The brilliance is in how gently that contradiction is revealed. She is always camera-ready, always positioned just right, offering expressions that reveal nothing and everything at the same time. Kimmel treats this not as a flaw, but as a fascinating riddle, like political modern art that nobody fully explains, yet everyone agrees must be worth something. Rather than suggesting she is waiting for a grand emotional moment, the joke quietly wonders if the distance is strategic, accidental, or simply what happens when you stand too close to constant chaos for too long.
I was reading some of the reviews of the book, and they are not excellent. Vanity Fair says Melania Trump's new book is truly bad. But what these reviewers don't realize is that it's not just a book, it's also a fragrance. It smells like Slovenian prenup ink.
What makes the roast really land is that it refuses to stretch the truth. There is no need to invent exaggerated traits because her public persona already feels slightly unreal. The humor comes from calmly pointing out what everyone sees and allowing the audience to connect the dots themselves. The laughter is not shock-based, it is recognition. It is that shared understanding that this level of emotional neutrality feels intentional. Her carefully curated presence becomes the centerpiece, steady and unmoved in a political world addicted to volume. While others shout, she remains still. That contrast is where the comedy thrives. She carries the aura of a fashion icon, yet often feels positioned like a background figure, occupying powerful rooms without appearing personally invested in them. The joke never questions her intelligence or motives. Instead, it marvels at how thoroughly she sidesteps expectations without openly rejecting them. Over time, her silence becomes the loudest punchline of all, almost like a superpower that allows her to glide through scandals, controversies, and entire news cycles without visibly reacting.
Meanwhile, Melania hasn't appeared at one of her husband's rallies in months, but she did come out of her shoe closet today to promote her book and to reveal that, unlike her husband, she is pro-choice.
Individual freedom is a fundamental principle that I safeguard. Without a doubt, there is no room for compromise when it comes to this essential right that all women possess from birth.
The humor sharpens even more when it focuses on how rarely she seems emotionally tied to the narratives built around her. Whether she is described as a devoted partner, a reluctant participant, or a quiet observer, she never confirms any version, and she never denies it either. Kimmel frames that ambiguity as deliberate, as though she understands that mystery shields better than clarity ever could. Donald Trump drifts back into the picture briefly, not as the main character, but as background static that she appears skilled at filtering out. His tendency to respond loudly to even mild commentary only reinforces the joke's core idea. He reacts as if every sentence is a personal attack, while she reacts by not reacting at all, and somehow that contrast hits even harder. When someone seems untouched by scandal and unmoved by criticism, comedy naturally starts asking what is really happening beneath the surface. Kimmel stays right there in that space.
Hey, lots of people you can see had sunglasses on, not Trump. In fact, if you Google Trump wearing sunglasses, you get thousands of pictures of him not wearing sunglasses, except the only pictures of him wearing anything even like them are shots of him during the solar eclipse. The glasses he then famously took off so he could stare directly into the sun. Weird. I mean, he golfs a lot. He's outside a lot. I wonder why he doesn't wear sunglasses, because it's Biden's thing, or did he wear...
As the bit continues, the edge comes from repeating that central observation. She rarely appears invested in the dramatic storyline surrounding her. Loyal spouse, unwilling participant, silent witness, the labels float around her, but she never grabs hold of any of them. The joke treats that silence as strategy, suggesting that staying undefined might be the most powerful move of all. Donald Trump pops back in again, more like background interference than the focus. His habit of turning minor remarks into major confrontations only strengthens the contrast. While he reacts as though under siege, she remains still. And that stillness lands with surprising force. When a public figure appears insulated from outrage and immune to expectation, humor naturally circles the question of what lies underneath. Kimmel never crosses into accusation. He simply lets the enigma breathe.
My body, my choice, really means.
You know what? That's a great question. Maybe ask the fat, sweaty manatee banging on your bedroom door with his little pink fist what it means. Because he seems to have a lot of thoughts on the subject. Melania's views on abortion are actually very progressive. She believes that women should be able to abort their stepchildren.
And once more, the sharpness builds from that same dynamic. She stands in the middle of stories written about her, yet never seems eager to edit them. Loyal, reluctant, detached, none of it is confirmed or denied. Kimmel treats that blank space as intentional, almost like she knows that unanswered questions are safer than clear statements. Donald Trump re-enters as a brief burst of noise, unintentionally amplifying the joke through his own intensity. His loud responses to relatively light commentary underline the difference between them. He treats words like attacks, she treats them like passing weather. That refusal to engage becomes its own statement. When someone seems completely unaffected by scandal and criticism, it sparks curiosity. Kimmel lingers in that curiosity without ever turning it into a direct claim.
The House right now is scrambling to clean up the mess they made in Minneapolis. Trump met last night in the Oval Office with Secretary of Homeland Security Kristi Noem and her top aide Corey Lewandowski. They met for 2 hours, although Trump was asleep for about 90 minutes of it, but 2 hours. Noem and Lewandowski are widely rumored to be romantically entangled. Anonymous White House officials say their relationship is the worst kept secret in D.C., other than any secret Pete Hegseth.
The roast ultimately lands because it never tries to escalate or lecture. It trusts Melania's public image to carry the weight. Instead of tearing her down, the joke frames her exactly as she has presented herself for years. The satire deepens by shifting focus from her actions to what she represents. Over time, her image has become cultural shorthand for elegant detachment. She is more than a former First Lady. She symbolizes the idea that proximity to power does not automatically mean emotional participation in it. The humor quietly observes how she moves through high-profile events with the precision of someone attending an obligation she never planned to linger at.
Melania claims that this is not a new position for her. She wrote, "I have carried this belief with me throughout my entire adult life." Guess if you're Melania and you want to contradict your husband, the safest place to do it is in a book where neither he nor any of his supporters will ever see it. This is quite a team he has around him. Trump's new sycophant, RFK Jr., I think we're starting to understand why they get along so well. First, we find out that he was trading.
Even her fashion becomes part of the narrative without sliding into mockery. Each outfit appears meticulously chosen, not to radiate warmth, but to signal completion, as though the task is done the moment she steps into the room. The joke plays with the idea that she understands the assignment perfectly, yet feels no emotional stake in the evaluation. Watching her navigate public life can feel almost observational, like studying someone balancing a perfectly filled glass while everyone else rushes around in chaos. The comedy does not accuse her of being cold, it highlights the discipline required to remain so consistently unreadable under relentless attention.
Melania also went into detail about her favorite moment as First Lady.
People always asking me, what was your favorite memory as First Lady? It was in 2020 when Donald get the China virus and he was airlifted to hospital like sick elephant. Biden and I threw party on that lawn. We danced around giant bonfire and shot fire cookers at Mike Pence. I had Link in the bedroom all
The bit also toys with the idea that she has mastered ceremonial existence. She participates in rituals, speeches, and ribbon cuttings without appearing emotionally invested in their outcomes. Events unfold around her while she seems to hover just slightly outside of them. That contradiction fuels the humor because public figures are typically expected to perform visible sincerity. She, however, has built a persona around polite distance. The comedy does not mock that space. It treats it as her defining feature, a conscious separation from surrounding turmoil. In a world where everyone narrates their feelings in real time, she offers only surface cooperation. The joke hints that withholding access might actually be the most effective way to maintain control of one's image.
She sat for the speech. She was there not just in her capacity as First Lady, but also as a representative for all the unsatisfied Slovenian women of the world. Rumpelstiltskin was all over the map today. He ranted about windmills, he bragged about ending 7 wars, he threatened the guy who operates the teleprompter, he complained about being screwed out of a deal to renovate the building they were in, the United Nations building. He said, you could have had marble, you got terrazzo, you could have had mahogany.
Donald Trump flickers back into view within this dynamic, almost like a faulty light that keeps blinking. He's not the centerpiece, but he unintentionally amplifies the contrast. His instinct to answer perceived slights with volume makes her calm look even more intentional. The satire sharpens without extra commentary because the difference between them says enough. The humor also suggests that her indifference has evolved into a quiet form of influence. By declining to engage, she leaves room for endless interpretation. Every neutral expression becomes a talking point. Her appearances can feel transactional, as if she is fulfilling an agreement rather than chasing passion. Instead of ridiculing that, the joke frames it as oddly honest compared to exaggerated enthusiasm. It lands on the idea that authenticity does not always resemble fiery emotion. Sometimes it looks like restraint.
In the friendly confines of Fox News today, trying to pretend that he's not pulling back in Minnesota, and for Bovino, this wasn't a demotion.
I don't think it's a pullback. It's a little bit of a change. Everybody in this room that has a business, you make little changes. Bovino's very good, but he's a pretty out there kind of a guy, and in some cases that's good. Maybe it wasn't good here. But you have to understand, when I watch some of the people that I've been watching over the last few weeks, these are paid insurrectionists.
As by the time the satire winds down, her composure resembles a carefully arranged painting, balanced and intentionally untouched. She is present but not entangled, visible yet rarely vulnerable. The humor treats this as fascinating because it pushes against the expectation that public figures must constantly explain themselves. Donald Trump's occasional outbursts serve only as reminders of the noise she sidesteps. His reactions do not weaken her image, they reinforce it, making her calm seem even more deliberate. The focus stays on her ability to reveal almost nothing. Because she offers so little, she remains intact through scandal cycles and public outrage. The joke does not condemn that strategy. It presents it as an unconventional resilience. The moment closes without tidy resolution because she never provides one. She remains composed, unreadable, and central without being consumed. The humor lingers, not because it shouted, but because it quietly pointed to something everyone had already noticed.